Hello, everybody. I'm Katie from HB Publishing House, and I have my work wife, superhero, wonderful lady, Sarah, as well. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
And we are here today on our wonderful podcast to chat with the amazing Sarah Surgey, who has obviously, written the most amazing book called Jumping Hurdles. And we are also joined by the infamous and wonderful Lexi Yoon Kim, who is the audio narrator to this wonderful book. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yay. So we'll start with Lexi, because you are amazing and you've joined us all the way from the sunny side of Australia.
I have. I still haven't left this country yet.
No, you are going to stay there forever.
No.
When do you plan to go home? When do you plan to go?
I'm gonna go home maybe around October, but only briefly because I gotta hop right on over to the States.
Oh, do tell me more. What's this all about? Was this going back to university?
Yes, I need to go and finish and graduate.
I've realised this is on my knees. I'm now vibrating with laughter. I'm so sorry. And the wonderful Sarah Surgey, you are here, the fabulous author of Jumping Hurdles. Tell us a little bit about the book, about this wonderful book.
Jumping Hurdles, first of all, I have to say it is a window for people to look through if they do not know about dyspraxia, which is a condition which a lot of people have, but a lot of people don't know about. It's not spoken about. We don't understand it still. I think now they're saying 1 child in every classroom in primary school is dyspraxic, but they are going under the radar. So Jumping Hurdles puts the light on that. And if you had to explain what dyspraxia was, and I asked my daughter who is dyspraxic, and I said to her, what do you say to people? I mean, she's older now, so how do you explain to friends that you are dyspraxic? And she says, I still just say I'm seen as clumsy, which is really sad, but that is how a lot of people with dyspraxia feel, because not a lot is known about it, but it's to do with the fine motor skills and the gross motor skills, and the brain sending these signals. It's just not happening as fluidly as it should do. And there's other things as well, feelings of being overwhelmed. So I thought of Jumping Hurdles because I thought, out of my daughter's childhood, which day really highlighted a lot of things that she struggled with, but she also triumphed with, and it was Sports Day. And I just thought that was such a relevant day, because every child knows about Sports Day. We're all made to do it, and we all have very different emotions about it, and very big emotions about it. And I just thought that day really does show how children, all children, but especially children with dyspraxia, have to kind of get through this Sports Day. But with dyspraxia, there are things that they're going to struggle with their coordination, obviously, but then there's other things which they're going to find slightly easier, because they learn to navigate through life. So they actually learn a lot of tricks very early on. So when things like Sports Day comes around, they've actually got a few tricks up their bag. So I wanted Jumping Hurdles to kind of highlight, but also celebrate, but also show, some of the hurdles that they have to overcome. So that is Jumping Hurdles.
I think it's a really special book, because like I've spoke to you before, it's showing what it can I don't want to say come out as, because that's the wrong thing, but how some of the elements of dyspraxia is shown in children, but also it's that window of opportunity to open that lines of communications for people who don't know about dyspraxia. And as I said to you as well, it opened that line of communication with my daughter, who has just been recently diagnosed with dyslexia, because she was saying, oh, okay, so I'm like this girl a little bit, I struggle with things, and this girl's doing really well. So, it sort of, I don't know, it kind of made her say, I'm not, she said, oh, I'm not dyspraxic, but what else is there? What's that word that, it's a little bit like dyspraxia. So
yes,
I really like that, because this book, when we read it, opened the line of communications for my daughter to talk about her recent diagnosis, which I really, really loved it, because it's such a gentle approach, isn't it? The story. So I really like that. I know I keep bringing that element in. It's good. Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it will probably do that for a lot of children. I can imagine children reading it and going, hang on, I'm a bit like this. This is the same for me.
Yeah,
And seeing themselves in the book, and not necessarily even just seeing themselves in B, but maybe in some of the other children that are in the book, the characters, and saying, actually, I know who's like that, and I can be like Ruby and be the friend that.
Yeah, it was really important to show the friendships, because what I basically did was I spoke with my daughter, and we spoke about sort of her childhood, and I kind of followed her in my mind's eye as I was writing it. I was following her around the sports day field and all these little things that happen, all these little moments between friends, are things that have happened over her childhood, and they're very common for children with dyspraxia. To experience these type of moments where, you know, you have these really good friends, best friends, but they know that you may stumble in a race, or you may not, you know, be the best one for them on their winning team, you know, all these different things. There's all for other children to kind of work out what dyspraxia is and what it means for other children and their friendships, and that's where obviously the empathy part comes in for other children to learn about it. But we've had so many parents say to us now, haven't we, oh, okay, I can see some of these traits in my child. So I definitely feel like it is opening up the doors, obviously, especially in the UK.
And the understanding, isn't it? And Lexi, when we sent over Jumping Hurdles manuscript to you, you know, what was your feelings when you read the story?
I was so excited because personally I had like a little moment where I was going into a research spiral, if you will, into like neurodivergence and a lot of like other traits that come with it. And of course, one of it is dyspraxia. And that was something I'd heard about, but obviously not something until I had started doing this kind of research. So it's just really exciting to see media for kids that was discussing this, and it was done in such a beautiful way, and I was so excited. I told literally everybody about it as soon as you sent it over.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And obviously you two have never met before. So Sarah, meet Lexi, Lexi, meet Sarah.
Very lovely to meet you.
Hello.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And when we obviously finished the book, Sarah, you don't know this, but me and Sarah, work wife, said Lexi has to audio narrate this book because she has such a beautiful voice. And the audio book is out now. So if you haven't heard it, please go and download it. It is on Audible. So when we had this Jumping Hurdles, we're like, Lexi has to, she has such a soft voice, and I like the fact that when I read the story, I heard Lexi's voice. So she didn't even know about it yet. And we just said, oh, Lexi, you know,
Lexi can do that.
As a sidebar, please will you do this? And obviously no pressure, but me and Sarah was like, please do it. which is hilarious. But it is, if you have listened to the audiobook, it is just such a beautiful story and just said in such a beautiful way. So Lexi, thank you so much for narrating it for us, because you've just brought the story to life auditory style in such a beautiful way.
Well, thank you for bringing the book to me. It was I wouldn't have even known about it if you guys didn't tell me.
It's true, and we are spreading the joy over to Australia and spreading that word, aren't we?
Actually, interesting. I was just going to say, you're saying Australia, but I know in Australia, I think they've got quite a big spotlight on dyspraxia. I think they call it DCD, more sort of a developmental coordination disorder. I think it's known more as DCD than dyspraxia in Australia. But it is, yeah, there's a big foundation out there. So I do feel like Australia's starting to step up a little bit with recognising dyspraxia and sort of shining that light on it. So that's interesting, yeah.
Very interesting. So coming back to you, Sarah, if you can just tell everyone a little bit about your background in becoming an author,
an author,
and to where you are now, because those of you who have read Jumping Hurdles or stumbled across this podcast and then go, who is Sarah Surgey? And we're like, well, I am this person. So please do let us know your background. That'd be lovely.
you. So yeah, so I became an author about 4 years ago. I started in the pandemic, as obviously I think a lot of writers kind of made that transition because we didn't know what else to do with ourselves, and we had all this time to write everything. But I've worked in education. I've been in the classroom for over 20 years. I've also got 4 daughters of my own. So writing books was always something for me that I wanted to use eventually as some kind of tool with children, because ultimately reading books with children in the classroom was always something that was always my go-to. Always, if ever a child was showing big emotions or just wanted some quiet time, I was just like, let's just go to the books. So I just knew that that's what I wanted to eventually go into, and I was very privileged that I had that time to do that in the pandemic. So it's about 4 years ago, and I've just kind of organically gone down the route of SEL books, or social emotional learning books, and empathy books. You know, I want it from both sides. So I've by September I'll have 6 children's books out in the last just under 4 years. So
Amazing.
that's
Congratulations.
been amazing. Thank you very much. So that's here in the UK and all over, actually. I mean, my first book, The Heavy Bag, has gone all over. So it's been a really lovely experience. And what I've loved the most actually is you write this book, and I always say to people, you lock yourself away and you write all by yourself and you don't want to talk to anybody and no one talk to me, and then you have the book, and then you've just got to get out there. And that's actually really lovely, because you do get to have some amazing conversations with readers, not necessarily always about your book, just about reading in general and writing and storytelling. And there is nothing better than, you know, having children be so animated about books and wanting to share that with you. So that's been a really lovely side of being a children's author, is actually just getting out there and going to festivals and libraries and bookstores and stuff, and schools as well. So that's really lovely.
Important. Oh, lovely. And what about you, Lexi? Tell us about your journey in audio narrating and where you are now, because I know I gave everyone a little hint you're in Australia at the moment, but tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm originally from South Korea, born and raised completely there, but I moved briefly to the States to study acting primarily at Northwestern University. So you can kind of see the starts of the transition there, and I really wanted to do stage acting, and then I kind of got into the idea of screen acting as well while I was over. A lot of moving around. I was over at Prague for a little bit last year for just 1 semester, and that's where I kind of fell in love with screen acting. And during it, we had a lot of like conversations about like voice acting, and we had an opportunity kind of related to that. I also had a very small like student film animation voiceover experience while I was at uni, so it was something that I was quite interested in, but like was looking for. I didn't quite have the right opportunities. And when I decided to take some time off of uni, I was looking a little bit more seriously into these kind of like acting jobs and voice acting jobs. And something that I found was audiobook narrating. And I think a part of me, just a very small part of me, knew like kids' books would probably work best with like just who I am and the way I sound and all that. And I think it just kind of fell into place, and I found you guys, and I had such a blast working on The Dinosaur and Me. And just kind of along with that came Jumping Hurdles, and I hope I can continue to do all this and just more voice acting things and more acting things. But yeah, I think that's like the gist of what's happened. That is my friend's cat.
Okay.
It's been sitting on my lap.
Okay, just jumped off. It's a bit scared, but yeah.
Yeah, if you hear meows and bells, that's what it is.
That's fine. Don't worry. And for you as an audio narrator, it comes through quite a bit in the story where you use different voices for say like B, and then how you use your voice in the narrating side as well, which feels really important. But you have got such a niche voice. It is just beautiful. And I know obviously you had a quick listen, didn't you, Sarah, to the book Jumping Hurdles as well. So the audiobook, not actual book, you've read that loads of times. So it was something obviously you'd listened to the first time. But that's what really, I guess, Mrs. Hewlett, just jumped out at us, isn't it? Just your style of voices are so different.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't heard Lexi's voice, you do need to download the audiobook right now. But I'm hoping, because I'm going to put you on the spot, you would give us a rendition of some voices, maybe.
Oh, okay. I don't know. What voices are we thinking?
I do not mind. I just want you to surprise Sarah, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you brought it." Honestly, when you did it before, oh, I loved it. You just said something. I just love it. You know, when people can do all these voices, I'm always in awe because I've just got this one Nottingham voice. There is nothing else that's coming out this mouth. So when someone can do 2, 3, 4 different accents, I'm like, I want to be you.
Okay, I am a little bit sick, so it might not work as well
I'm so
right
sorry.
now.
I'll go no,
No,
I'm
it's okay. No, I'm recovering. I'm like on the better side of things. But I know for jumping hurdles, what I tried to do was with B, I wanted to make something like a little bit like kid-like and excited. So I made it like way up at like the front of your face kind of sound. So it'd be like, "Hi, my sports day," like kind of like that a little bit. And with like the mom, I really wanted it to sit a little bit lower. I don't have the lowest voice, but I was trying. So something like, "It's okay if you can't be perfect for sports day," like something a little bit closer to that.
Very good. I love it. I like I say, just one voice from me. So I'm in awe, and it's definitely true that you can do all these lovely voices. I just think it's beautiful. It works so well in jumping hurdles, doesn't it, Sarah? Well, both Sarahs, because you're both Sarah. It's really confusing. I have to put your work wife or Mrs. Hewlett, because it's just Sarah and Sarah.
It does work beautifully, and I think, Lexi, you've just got one of those voices you could listen to all day long.
Thank you.
Very true. It's very true.
I will say that just absolute coincidence. I saw a quote this morning because I was thinking about audiobooks. And I mean, I absolutely love what you did. Thank you so much, Lexi. And somebody said, can people stop looking down on audiobooks as if it's the cheater's way of a book? Can we please remember that storytelling started as oral storytelling back in medieval times? Like, that's how storytelling started. So we're going back to the origins of storytelling, and that reminded me of something, you know, that's the same. I remember in my degree we were like doing about, you know, different ways to tell a story, and I was like, yes, that is it. You know, that's why audiobooks are so amazing, because they give this very different view to a book. Because obviously when we read a book like this with our children, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on between, you know, child, adult, a lot of things outside of the story. I think, you know, we have a lot of conversations, a lot of fidgeting, a lot of moving, a lot of, you know, other things going on, and we see different things. I think when a child has an audiobook, it's them and the story, and I think then it just really lets their imagination run, because ultimately, you know, they do want to kind of imagine how it's all playing out. So I just think it's so lovely, and I can really see why audiobooks for children just, I think it's like one of the fastest growing areas in children's books now, isn't it? It's just so it's lovely, and when you do it justice as you have, Lexi, then it's even more special. Thank you.
Are you doing next? So if I start with you, Lexi, is that okay? So what has the future got in store for you, apart from we've heard a little nugget of you going back to America to finish your degree?
Yeah, so I am still trying. I'm like auditioning for things here in Sydney. I'm running out of time, just rehearsal things and timeline wise, so it might be a little bit harder, but I have been trying to like audition for things. But in the bigger scheme of things, I'm hoping to go back to uni. I'm hoping to get into the acting scene, and hopefully also the voice acting scene over in the States. My friends and I have been very half-heartedly talking about starting a theater company, which would be very, very fun. I have such wonderfully talented friends at uni, and it would mean the world to me if we could just spend our entire lives just making art that we care about for the rest of our lives. That'd be awesome. So there's that. What else? I really want to do more film related things as well. It hadn't quite happened when we were doing the last podcast, but I learned a little bit afterwards that a student film that I had been was selected, or it was nominated for like an AAPI film festival in Chicago.
Wow.
It didn't win apparently, but it was still very cool because it means a bunch of people got to see my face on a big screen in Chicago, which is insane to think about. But I really want to do more of that kind of stuff. I want to hang out and I want to make really cool, fun things with people I adore and respect and just do really silly things.
That's it. Don't be too serious. But again, it's like, sorry, just bring it back to jumping hurdles. You didn't win in Chicago, but neither did B, and she still was happy. And it's not about winning, as they say in sports day. It's about taking part that matters.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it is really important that it's sometimes it, and you say the same thing, don't you, Sarah? About it's not about, selling all those books. It's just about communicating with other people and meeting other people and just letting them know that you're there and this is what I can offer.
Yeah, I think the only thing we want to do in this world is make our mark, isn't it? And share what we have to give to other people, and whether that's massively wide and expansive or whether that's a smaller remit of people, you still want to have had some impact somewhere and have shared what it is that you love and what you're capable of doing. So yeah, well done, Lexi. Sounds amazing.
It does.
Thank
It really
you.
does. And Sarah, what about you? What's in the future for you in regards to your author career?
There's so many exciting.
I know.
Yeah, I've got a new book that's launching in September, Ebbs and Flows. So again, that's going to look at children's emotions. So there's some exciting things with that because we've got quite a few foreign editions for that as well. So it's going to go to lots of different countries, but it will be in the UK as well. So I'm going to do some school visits around London, where I'm originally from. So that'd be really nice to go back and do that. And yeah, lots of lovely events for Ebbs and Flows. So that's in September and October. And I'm in the middle of co-authoring a book with a very lovely, well-known American author, children's author. So that's a bit different because that's an early reader. So that's slightly different for me from picture books. So we're doing that at the moment. I've got obviously my book, The Heavy Bag, my very, very first one, which I actually self-published, the UK edition. And I'm just kind of like Lexi, just sort of working with a friend. She makes films and she's a journalist and a writer and everything. So just a little something kind of like just a creative arty project around The Heavy Bag. And then I'll start fresh next year with some new books out on submission. If my agent can talk to people, that'd be lovely.
Yeah,
I'm sure she will.
I guess she will. She's lovely, your agent.
Yes, very lovely. Yeah.
Last question. So, jumping hurdles. What is your favourite part of this beautiful book? So, if I start with Mr. Tulip, you can go first because, I feel like I haven't spoke to you a lot.
Oh, okay. My favourite part is when Ruby, I don't want to give the story away, where Ruby is struggling and B goes back to help her and says, we're going to finish this race as friends, like we're here to help each other. Because I think it just shows it just shows another side to the book, because the book, yes, is trying to bring awareness about dyspraxia and, like you say, Sarah, show that window, that little mirror into it. But also, I love that actually it's also showing the importance of other things in life for us and for children, and actually helping your friends is super important. And I just love that little snippet in there. I think it's just really lovely.
Great. Lexi, what about you? What's your favourite part? And I know obviously you've only seen it on an ebook, but working back to your wonderful audio narrating, which bit do you think, oh, this bit's cute, I like this bit?
I really like the moment that was just mentioned, but to say something a little bit different, Just as a little silly moment, I love when Bee realizes that she knows exactly where the egg and spoon race is because she just saw it on the way. And I was like, you know what? I would do that. I would just wander about a little and like know where things are when I'm not supposed to know where things are. I thought that was very like a small cute moment.
Yeah, it's a good one. What about you, Sarah?
Can I just say, I love that you've both chosen those moments because they're actually real moments that happened with my daughter. Because firstly, children who have dyspraxia are more likely to have a higher visual perception. And I think when she was 8 and she was diagnosed, she had visual perception of about 17 years. And that is one of the ways that they navigate through things. They remember things and places, otherwise directions become very complicated for them, and instructions. So that is a true story. And also children with dyspraxia are more likely to show empathy for their friends, which again was an absolute true moment, because if her friends ever fell over and they weren't used to falling over, they'd be mortified, but because she was constantly falling, getting back up, she was like, oh, it's fine, I'll help you. So thank you. Mine visually and just the words is just this one. I think it's a real pause page, as I like to call them, where you just kind of just stop for a minute and just pause and in the story and just think for a moment. So that's my favorite one.
I love it. Can I just be really boring and just say I love all of it?
Yes,
all of it. Just each page brings new delights, and like, oh yeah, it really gets you thinking. So I'm just going to be that boring person that says I love it all.
Be that person.
That's it. I am the lover of it all. That is the end of today's podcast. Thank you so much both for joining us. We have Lexi Yoon Kim all the way from Australia, and her audio narrating skills have been awesome. So if you have not heard her, please do go download the audiobook of Jumping Hurdles. And thank you to Sarah as well for joining us, who is the author of Jumping Hurdles. It has absolutely been a pleasure to have you both on today, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Yeah.